What's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for tuning in for a brand new Marvel Rivals video. For those of you that are, in fact, returning viewers, thank you so much for watching my channel and for subscribing. It's just greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. And for those of you that are new to the channel, if you have not subscribed yet, please take a moment to do so. Every sub helps a married guy game more. My wife told me I could game more if I started a YouTube channel, and, you know, here we are. I just had to do it. So anyway, your subscription would be greatly appreciated. In this video, we're going to talk about just like a fun little list that I made. I've been recently doing a lot of tier lists on how I've been seeing the meta shifting. The one that I did recently, I think, was a very great comprehensive look at the newest change to the meta and how that's affecting gameplay. If you have not seen that yet, I'll put a card up here at the top for you. But for this video, we are actually going to talk about AoE damage, or area of effect damage, and we're going to look at the heroes that have that, and we're going to talk about that utility within game. So let's hop right into it. This is the list, and I have it kind of separated already because I want to expedite this to share this information with you guys as quickly as possible. I have the Vanguard Duelists and Strategists that have relevant AoE to what the conversation is that I'm trying to have right now. And then I've got just the other Vanguards, Duelists, and Strategists. And at the top, I have the God Tier AoE. That's only one list that we are going to make where we're going to take some of these heroes that have very relevant and very noticeable AoE effects, and then we're going to decide who has the best, in my opinion. So with that being said, you might notice that down below, some of the ones that don't fall into the AoE category actually do have some AoE effects. This is true. They didn't make it into the upper list because I don't really find it to be like super functional or exactly what I'm trying to talk about right now. Like you could say, for example, like Cloak's ult, it's doing AoE damage and it's doing AoE healing. Yes, this is true, but the damage isn't really there, and I do kind of want to focus a little bit more on the damage aspect, with the other avenues of it being of importance, and that'll play into who makes it into the God Tier AoE and who doesn't. Her AoE is better as a heal. It's not really that great as damage. Any level of healing coming in during her ult is going to counter it, so it's not really that serious. Scarlet Witch has some AoE, but that's, you could argue it's not really AoE. It's just going to hit every target and nuke them. Whether or not you want to classify that as AoE or you want to say it's a single target nuke to whoever's within range, it's debatable. Cap, he has the shield ricochet, but that's single target instance for each character, right? AoE damage being area of effect, it creates that like splash damage effect. It's not doing that. So anyway, with that being said, before we get into the God Tier AoE, we're just going to hop into each category, and then we're going to talk about what that AoE looks like and why I put them up into these rows. So the first one being Vanguard AoE. I've got Thor, Venom, Thing, Emma, Groot, Doctor Strange, and Penny in here. Now, Thor's ult, great AoE. It can be kind of hard to land. I would argue it takes too long for him to do his ult. I think he needs like a small rework for his ultimate, in my opinion. I think you either need to widen that range of where he can hit, or it needs to be sped up a little bit. It's way too easy to get away from him, but it is great AoE, and if you do get hit, it's probably going to kill you. Venom has really good AoE with his dive. He can also do his like connecting skill to everyone, and then his ult is just absolutely insane. It is taking away a percentage of remaining health, and it's gnarly. That's an insane ult. He has a great AoE kit, especially as a tank that's also a diver. Like he's just a crazy hero. Thing has really phenomenal AoE that is coupled with the removal for a short period of time of any mobility skills of the enemy team, as well as clobbering time, doing a bunch of damage, stunning, and it's all AoE effect. It's just amazing. Emma has really good AoE with her kick, the ability to push multiple people away from you. If you're in diamond form, you do the kick, but also her ult is just absolutely incredible. It has amazing CC, it does good damage, has a great range as well. It's very, very powerful. Groot has phenomenal AoE in his, I don't play with him, so I forget which one it is, like left click maybe, or right click, that throws the little, spore thing and it explodes. That deals decent damage for him being a tank, but then also his ult can be quite devastating. And same thing goes for Doctor Strange. His ult is just nuts. that ability to just sleep a bunch of people basically, and then it's just kind of like free picks. You got to be quick about it, right? But it has an incredible effect, and his ult happens fast, which is really key. Penny made it in this list as well, and that's just because of the mines. Her mines do a lot of damage, and they do deal AoE damage. You'll see when it goes off, when they detonate, it creates a red ring around that, and anyone that's in that's going to get hit by that. If there are enough mines in there that get triggered, it can cause a high enough single instance of damage that can nuke anybody that's in that AoE zone. It's very powerful. Okay, the duelist now. You'll see there's a lot more duelists than Vanguard in this list. First one is Iron Man. Iron Man has really good AoE on his normal attack, and then also his ult is just absolutely incredible, honestly. It triggers pretty fast, and it can be dealt from anywhere because he can fly around. It can come from above. You might not even know where it's coming from, so it can make it hard to get away from it. And also that's a high enough single target or single instance of damage that it can nuke people that would otherwise survive different things. As an example, Star-Lord's ult isn't going to be able to take down a Luna in her ult, but Iron Man's ult will take out a Luna in her ult and anybody else that's around it because the instance of damage is high enough that it can't be healed through. Mr. Fantastic has some really great AoE. Most notably, I would say his ult. If you are in a closed environment with like a smaller ceiling, his ult happens like really, really fast. I don't know if you've had that happen to you or not yet, but it's just, you can't get away from it then. It can create some serious AoE damage in a very, very small amount of time if his jump is cut short because of a lower ceiling, and that can just absolutely obliterate your team. Wolverine has phenomenal AoE with his ult and also just with his ability. His attacks in general can hit multiple people at the same time, and he deals a high amount of damage, but his ult most notably does some really amazing AoE damage, and it has some control effects by taking away movement. I think it might say that it has a stun. I'm not sure if it just has a stun or basically not being able to move is being stunned. I don't know if that's like the wording on the kit or not, because I've never played as him, but I've been destroyed by some Wolverines, and you can't get away if you get hit in that ult. Torch, obviously, his whole kit's basically AoE. Squirrel Girl, very notable, especially in the lower ranks. You do see a lot of Squirrel Girl players, and if you're not getting into the back line to take them out, it can be super difficult to progress on an objective, especially in an escort situation, because she can just hang back and bounce her shots off of the walls, the ceiling, whatever, and it's causing AoE damage to anyone that's getting hit by it. It's very powerful. And her ult as well, not to be ignored. You got to get off the ground at any time when that ult is coming in. Storm has good AoE with her ult specifically, and it's even more powerful if it's paired with Torch. Psylocke has really strong AoE as well. Her ult is devastating, especially to support players and DPS players. If you get caught in that, you're not getting out of it. There's also good AoE potential here with Winter Soldier. His AoE is a little bit more interesting because it really only benefits him to a degree, right? It puts the curse on the health bar, so it allows him to more easily get an elimination, which allows him to trigger that again and continue to apply that curse to the health bar to people. But if a teammate gets that elimination, it doesn't count for him. So most notably, you see this being super effective if there's like a Loki on the map, because then he can just rinse and repeat on the clones to just continue to do it. And it can be very, very powerful for that reason. And if you've got a Bucky that's very accurate, then you're going to continue to see that ult go off, and it can be extremely devastating to your team if it's done effectively. With with Black Widow, you have really good AoE with her ult, and it makes anyone that's caught in that area of effect receive more damage. They become vulnerable to damage, and that's very powerful. You don't see a lot of people playing her, but when you do, and they're really good at getting some elims and just getting hits on all the time, and they're refreshing that ult a lot, it can be something that really makes the offensive side and the defensive side a little bit more easy to manage, because she's doing so much damage with that and so much like area control, because you don't want to go into that anymore. Once that hits the ground, like, you need to stay out of it until that zone is cleared. There's a lot of AoE damage going on with Moon Knight. I would say probably the highest level of AoE of any of the duelist characters. Everything he does is AoE to a degree, right? His whatever you call them, the little moon blades, they're bouncing around on everyone. They're not technically causing AoE damage. It's kind of like Cap's skill where he throws the shield. It's bouncing around to everyone, but he has the ability to throw the Onk down, which creates this area of effect, like disturbance basically. It sends anyone that's in it airborne and just kind of like briefly stuns them. And then it allows him to just unload onto that Ankh and deal a ton of damage all around in that area. Now, technically, these are ricochet shots, so it is single target instance, but it happens so fast, and it can just wipe people out, that it feels a little bit more like AoE, even though technically it's not. But his ult is a very powerful AoE, so that is very relevant. Hela's ult, super powerful, not to be ignored. I will say it's not as effective as it feels sometimes. I know you can go up against Hela's, and a lot of people like to ban them. Hela's ult is not that relevant if everyone's aware of it. If you all just turn your focus and start shooting her down, she's not going to get more than like 2, maybe 3 shots off if everybody's quick about it. So it can be devastating for sure, and it does deal AoE damage in a wide area, right? You don't have to be super accurate as her to land your shots when you're doing your AoE ult, but if you focus her down, it goes away way too fast and doesn't really feel that valuable. Iron Fist has, I'm pretty sure, like his whole kit's just AoE. Like if you're just in front of him, if you're grouped up together, he's just going to be hitting everybody. And it's very annoying. Iron Fist is probably the most annoying person to play against, like truthfully. I've said it before in other videos, it's just like straight up tunnel vision for these people, and then they just like hone in on you, and just the sound of the punches, like after a while, just starts to drive you insane. But anyway, I think he has a pretty much an AoE kit, and maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but I'm pretty sure he can hit everybody that's within a small space in front of him. I might be wrong, but either way, that's not that important because he's not going to make it into the God Tier AoE. Anyway, I put him in here at the bottom because I'm pretty sure that that's what happens, but I can't be sure. If I'm wrong, please tell me. For Strategist AoE, we have Jeff and we have Loki. Now, Jeff does AoE healing, he does AoE damage, and increased AoE damage if you've got a Luna on the team, and he does AoE CC, which ultimately turns into damage because when you do the ult and you eat the whole enemy team, you're dealing damage to them as you're swimming away, and then if you take them off the map, it becomes an elimination of whoever you have, unless they're able to escape. Some people can escape sometimes, but that's basically like dealing damage. Basically, you're getting a kill from it. So his whole kit is basically AoE. Something to note as well, and I don't know if you guys know this, but if you eat your teammates, you actually heal them while you're swimming away with them. Pretty cool. Loki, basically all AoE as well, to a degree, right? His attacks, his kit, not all of it's AoE because he's just putting up the clones and stuff, but his attacks and the clones' attacks deal area of effect damage and area of effect healing. He also has the runes that do area of effect healing, and it pretty much becomes damage immunity because any incoming damage when you're in that green circle, when the rune goes up, the healing rune, any incoming damage is turned into additional healing. Nothing can kill you when you're in that. If something hits like right when it goes away, then yes, but it's just a very, very strong effect. And then his ult being able to copy other people and being able to copy somebody else with some sort of AoE effect is extremely powerful. So that is all things considered for the ones that I have listed here in Vanguard AoE, Duelist AoE, and Strategist AoE. Now, who has the best? Now, you guys know, if you watch my other videos as well, you would know that I'm really big on a rounded kit and strong utility. I will personally, any day, take a hero and practice with them that has a more rounded kit that can do more for the team, whether that means might have a little bit of healing, might bring some CC to the table, might create some like buffing or debuffing or something like that, and still deal some damage. I would rather play a character like that with a rounded kit where I can really feel like I'm bringing a benefit to the whole team, rather than play with someone who is just dealing a high instance of damage and you're just hoping to get a lot of kills. That to me, personally, for myself, I don't have fun. I don't have fun with that. If I just want to play something where all I'm going to do is like deal damage, then I'll play Call of Duty or I'll play Halo or I'll just play like a straight up shooter. But this isn't really about that. For me, this feels a lot more like a League of Legends style as Overwatch or MLBB, the like knockoff League of Legends for the phone. I played a lot of that game. This is kind of more in that realm, right, where you need people to be filling roles and you're running different routes. So the more versatility of a kit, the more benefits that you can bring to your team, the better, for sure. So with that being said, I don't want to move anyone into the God Tier AoE category unless they bring something to the table that's more than just damage. Now, some of them didn't make it into the list already, even though they do have some AoE effects, like Scarlet Witch for an example, or even Luna, for example. Great AoE healing, great AoE damage buffing, but she's not bringing AoE damage necessarily to the table, so it's not really quite like the full package, right? So that's why she didn't make it in there in the first place. Star-Lord, his E, his like spinning, shooting thing, that's kind of AoE. I think it is still technically single target damage, but it can hit multiple people at the same time, so the skill itself has an AoE effect. But it's not good enough, I don't think, to move it up in this list. So for God Tier AoE, we'll start with the Vanguards. Venom has to go up there. There is no world in which his kit, as far as AoE is concerned, it would not be considered God Tier. The slam is AoE. The extension, like grabbing or whatever, that creates like the slowing effect and then deals additional damage like that. That's an AoE effect. And the AoE damage from the ult. It's just massive. I think that Thing deserves to be up here as well. A really good Thing player is devastating. The issue that we find with Thing often, at least when I play, is that they tend to overextend. I think they kind of like, they think that they can survive more than they can. I'm losing my train of thought here. But when they do play back and they do stay with the team and they're better at keeping the boundary, that AoE effect can be really devastating, especially if they're hitting people with kits that kind of rely on mobility. Like Jeff, for example, he relies on high mobility, but if you get hit by Thing and he's aware of the whole situation and he's still with his team getting healed, he can nuke Jeff because you lose the ability to swim. So it's very, very powerful. I would put Emma up here as well. Her ult is not to be ignored. It does crazy CC. It does great damage. This is an opportunity when her ult goes up for other people to capitalize on their ults. This is a great opportunity for like Wolverine to come in. This is a good opportunity for Jeff to come in and swallow everybody. This is a high damage potential point for a Torch or a Moon Knight. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, these are moments when you can gain control of the entire team, have them just mindlessly walking toward you, and then somebody else can utilize their ult to just nuke everybody. I had a game I played the other day. I actually looked for it because I wanted to show you guys this video, but it's already out of the history for me. But I was playing as Emma, and we had an Iron Man, and I hit the entire team with my ult, and our Iron Man just nuked all of them, all 6, with his ult. There's a lot of potential for plays like this, and I think we're starting to see this happen a little bit more, especially as communication grows and people are playing with teams more often. Bringing ults together is extremely powerful. I don't know that I would put Strange in the God Tier AoE because he's only really doing it with his ult, and I think if the Eye of Agamotto effect lasted longer, I would say put him in there. But it is, like, especially if your team's not really there, in this instance, you're really kind of depending on utilizing that when your team's going to help you finish the elims or when somebody else has an ult ready, which again can be very powerful, but it doesn't have quite the same effect as like Emma's does, where just from a CC perspective, her CC is stronger in this instance. More often than not, what I see happen with Strange is he'll come in solo, do it, and maybe kill a healer and a DPS. Maybe. If he's really on it and he's ready and there's already been like some damage dealt, he can maybe on his own get away with getting 2 people and he can get out. I'm not saying that's not something to be considered. Like, that is strong, that is effective, but other people can do that too, you know, and they don't have to use an ult to do that. So I don't know that I would put him in God Tier for the AoE. Penny, man, Penny's sneaky. Like, part of me wants to put her into the God Tier section, but there's also a part of me that says it's circumstantial, and you're not really making that happen with the mines. You're placing them and hoping that people come over it. It could end up just being a single target. They could trigger it and back out. They could see them. They could shoot them and destroy them. It can be countered. It's a little too circumstantial that's really powerful for me to say that that's a God Tier AoE pick as a tank, but it's certainly worth noticing, and she definitely has a lot of value. So I think she does belong in notable Vanguard AoE kits, but I don't think that it would be God Tier. Now for the Duelists, we're going to definitely put Iron Man up here. I think that it's fair to say, like, for Mr. Fantastic, the example I gave before of like a low ceiling area creating super high AoE damage, that is certainly worth noting. Other aspects of his kit deal some AoE as well, like he can grab 2 people at once and slam them together. When he goes in his like buffed up form, he'll be hitting anybody that's in front of him. So there is other AoE that comes with him, but that like crazy value is very circumstantial. So I just don't think that he would fit in the God tier category. Wolverine, for sure, if he grabs a bunch of people, like I'm sure you guys have seen the clips, he grabs like 4 or 5 people with his ult and just nukes all of them. It's just insane. It's very powerful, and it's certainly something that I would say that would be a God tier AoE when it's landed correctly. And not to say that that's not circumstantial as well, because technically yes it is, but some of that comes down to your positioning, how you plan to do your ult. If you're working with your team and you're waiting for the right moment to do it, but you also know how to create that right moment, it becomes less circumstantial. Torch, 100%, he's a problem right now. Everything he does is AoE, and it is just devastating. And if you can't deal with him, like it makes for a really tough game. Squirrel Girl, I would not put up in God tier. She's got great AoE, but you do kind of start to see a little bit less of her as you rank up a little bit more. And if you do focus her down, then she kind of becomes irrelevant as far as like regular attack damage goes. But then you just have the ult to worry about, which can be easily avoided if you're aware of it, and you just get off of the main area of wherever the ult was launched from. Storm, circumstantial as well. She's going to function the best if you have Torch with her. Not to say that her AoE isn't huge, and I think the biggest aspect of her ult is that you know that she triggered it, but you don't know where she's going to start it. So it can be, I mean, you can assume it's going to be the back line, right? But it can be hard to get away from it in time, and it will nuke a strategist specifically. So it is powerful. I just don't think that it would be God tier. It's not really bringing more to the table to where I could say, you know, this is relevant. This is like a really strong pick. If you want to make a pick like this, I feel like their kits are similar, and there's a lot more going on with his kit with the burn, the constant, you know, AoE effect. He's just more powerful than she is. So comparatively, if, you know, I feel like only one of them can be put up here, and it's not going to be Storm. Psylocke's kit, very powerful, great AoE, like we mentioned before for the ult. I don't think God tier, but if you do have a Psylocke that's very good and they're getting their ult often, that makes them more powerful. But you could argue they're already getting a lot of kills before that. The ult is just kind of like the icing on the cake. For Bucky, circumstantial. It can be amazing. I've played against some Buckys that have just, it's impossible to deal with them. They absolutely have destroyed me, destroyed our team. But it's kind of circumstantial, and it's not creating enough benefit. And it's only relevant if you're able to get kills after you did it. Same thing here with Black Widow. We're going to leave her just, you know, where she is now. The AoE from her ult is noteworthy, and it does help the rest of the team, but you kind of don't really see a lot of people playing her, and then it's kind of silly to play her kit just because you want the AoE from her ult when you could pick AoE characters that just bring more to the table in general for the team. Moon Knight, I would put up in God tier as well. He just does a lot of damage, and if you know how to position well with him, it can be really difficult to deal with his kit. He's doing a lot. He really is. He's doing distraction with his onks. He's doing AoE effect damage. He's doing ricochet single target damage. He's got some control aspects to his kit, and he's got high mobility. So he's just a great pick if you want to bring some AoE DPS to the table. I would leave Hela down here. You can disagree with me, and that's fine. A lot of people say that she's God tier. She's the best DPS, and that might be right. But I feel like that's only because maybe she has the highest like single instance of damage situation going on. But I don't think that she brings a lot of utility or added benefit to the team aside from just doing high damage, which is great. A great Hela, difficult to deal with. A super accurate Hela is going to be very difficult to deal with. But as far as like God tier AoE goes, I don't think that she fits that category. Like I mentioned before, Iron Fist is just going to stay down here. And if I am wrong about him being able to punch a bunch of people at the same time, please tell me. I've not played as him. I've only come up against him. He's very annoying. Strategist AoE. I mean, we can bring Jeff up here. He has a very unique kit, I would say a very special kit to utilize when it's used correctly. And what a lot of people don't understand about his ult is that you don't have to use it for the elims. You can use the ult simply for the CC. You can use it to just remove people from the objective to make the game end. If you're in overtime, just bring them away. You can use it to remove your teammates. Like let's say Strange comes in and hits everyone with the Eye of Agamotto. You can just swallow your whole team with Jeff and get him out of there. Same thing goes for Groot's ult. You can save your team with Jeff. That's like legitimately a thing. You can also use his ult to sneak your whole team in behind the enemy line. Like eat your whole team, swim them all around somewhere, swim up the wall, spit them all out from up above. And then, I mean, there's a lot of like utility with that. And I think that his kit isn't necessarily explored to the full extent that it can be. There are so many advantages to what he does, but I think people are just bent on him being like an off DPS healer, and they're not really realizing how much strategic benefit that he brings to the table. So I would definitely put him up in God tier if used correctly. We'll just leave Loki down here. He's a phenomenal strategist, maybe the best. But there's not much more than just that AoE damage and that AoE healing that's going on from him, which isn't to be overlooked, but doesn't quite make that God tier level. So as far as God tier AoE goes, we've got Venom, Thing, Emma, Iron Man, Wolverine, Torch, Moon Knight, and Jeff. I feel pretty good about that. These are phenomenal picks. We're covering, every role. We've got 3 DPS. We've got 1 strategist in here. We've got 3 tanks as well. That's strong. It's very, very, very strong. And let's say, okay, if you want to round it out, because normally you're going to need 2. You need 2 healers for sure. And if Jeff is not primarily healing, he's just kind of like an off DPS with like supplemental heals. You're using him for the CC. I would say if you're going to bring somebody else up from the strategist list here, that's bringing an good AoE effect to the table, because you'd want, if you are going to be using him strategically that way, like really kind of just using him for his CC, then I would argue bringing these 2 up into that God tier AoE, even though I didn't have them listed down here before. The reason being is that, like, if you wanted to pick from this list, right, you take these 2 back out. If you wanted to pick from this list to put a team together, that would be powerful. It would be. But you do need more heals than just Jeff, right? So with that, in consideration, let's bring these 2 up here as like, honorable mentions, let's say. Luna's ult is absolutely incredible. It does healing and it does damage boosting. You can swap how the ult is functioning based on what you need in that moment during the push with Luna. And that's very powerful. She's got a freeze in her kit. It's not AoE, it's single target freeze. Her attacks can go through and hit multiple people at the same time. Still single target instances of damage. It's not AoE, technically, but her ult is definitely something worth noting. Same thing goes for Rocket. His ult is very powerful. He's also got the beacon that can bring people back. Then there's like the 45-second cooldown for it, but he can bring someone back to the fight immediately after getting eliminated. And his ult now does healing, it brings shield, and it increases damage. So that's certainly noteworthy. His ult isn't actually dealing damage itself. It can be destroyed very quickly, which is one of the reasons why I didn't want to bring him in the first place. But now seeing how the God tier list has shaped up, I wanted to bring these 2 in so that I could say, if you want to pick it's like super strong AoE play, you could pick from this God tier list. And this would be not only great for having your stats look great, but great for helping your team stats as well. There's a lot of benefit to using these heroes. So that's it. There is the God tier AoE list, in my opinion. I'd love to know what you guys think about this. And if you have another thought starter or topic for a video, I would love to hear it. I'm always looking for new fun videos to create. And like I said before, for all of you that are subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate it greatly. And for those of you that have not subscribed yet, please take a moment to do so. I'll see you in the next video.